2 hours to be creative, or, you know, am I gonna work on my nonprofit this day? This is how many hours I'm spending. My kids, like Tuesday, Thursday evenings, nobody call me. Every second weekend, nobody call me. Like, you know, this is kind of what I do, so I'm a beast about my schedule. That's the only way. If you don't schedule what's important to you into your schedule, other people are gonna end up filling it up for you. Yeah.
Thank you. I would love to continue.
I gotta go. Yeah.
Sorry. Then
Thank you. I'll try this. I'm not really in this little auditorium. I may defer. Let me know if you can't hear me. Otherwise, I think I might start to sort of. First of all, I'm an analog baby, so my slides were a failure, and I have to. It's been really interesting, and there's such a diverse topic responses, and I have to. I'm always challenged when the word creative is described as some like a verb or an adjective. That is to say, I feel it's such an integral part of everything I do. I can't imagine selecting not being creative or selecting creativity. And I don't say that with judgment, but rather just curiosity. Now, one reason that my slides are thus is that my 87-year-old mother called me last night at 11, which she does every night. She lives in Pictou, and it's in the middle of the election, of course, so that just was just a consequence of craziness of the day. And she just published a book, and it just arrived yesterday, and she's driving into the city today. So my day was consumed by collecting my 87-year-old mother. Well, there's no collecting her, but she's dynamic, and I introduce this as inspiration for all of us, that all of you young ladies, it's just so much fun to listen to where you're at and what you're doing, and just incredibly inspirational and diverse. And my talk was to be about hacking your way to success, and the fact that there's a hackathon pending is really exciting in my opinion. I ache to enter any hackathon of any content there ever is, because I tend to gravitate to the challenges. I don't necessarily create the challenges, but I find that they exist, and I don't deflect, or they don't deflect from me, but rather I try to resolve them, and I find it so fulfilling to try and solve problems. So I'm going to kind of just read and hold up, if you'll pardon my absence of tech. So yeah, life is really just a series of puzzles, and the calendar and the planning thing, I'm all over it. However, I think there are those who create the schedules with a purpose of avoiding problems, and then there are those who don't have any kind of business plan, and they take advantage of any opportunity that comes around. And I think that there's a real kind of hybrid of those approaches that allows creativity to really flourish. And I may have already consumed all 5 minutes, but I would love to talk about one particular thing that I think demonstrates how valuable creativity is as a core premise, not an ingredient. That so many institutional strategies depend upon a creative perspective, and I think it's so important that everyone from the penthouse admin organizations to NASCAD's studios, everyone depends on a real healthy dose of creativity in order to evolve and get into more successful organic relationships. And I think more than ever we need this. And I work in film, and I do have a shop, and I do a bunch of things. None of them are really truly sustainable, but together they kind of create something that fulfills and sustains me. And every one of them is riddled with issues and problems and challenges, and every one requires a different approach. And thank God, because it just kind of keeps me vibrating all the time. It's like, you know, what do I have to tackle this day, or what am I going to try to resolve this day? And I do wish my life was a little more boring sometimes, but I think it really helps perpetuate some really kind of magic. To me, whether I produce something that's magical is in the eye of the beholder, but I love to collaborate. I love to sort of bounce that germ of creativity off of somebody else's head and grab it back and then throw it and, you know, see what you end up at the end of the day with, and it's just really truly exciting. And again, I'm going to try to jump to one very, very succinct example of creativity. I just finished working on a film called Flight 111, which was an incredibly sensitive story that was historical fiction. That is to say, it was written by and produced by the son-in-law of the pilot of the Swiss Air Flight 111. And so it was a Canadian-Swiss co-pro, and they were going through the relationships that were forged after the tragedy, the cataclysmic 219 loss of life, 1998. I mean, it was, maybe some of you aren't even old enough to have been, yeah, do you remember this? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Peggy's Cove, yes. And I was tasked, one of the tasks was to recreate the honoring of, or recognition of the victims by way of throwing a rose over the Black Rock section of Peggy's Cove. And it was an incredibly moving occasion in the day. I remember the events of the day so vividly, and I think if you live in Nova Scotia, you know someone who's affected directly or indirectly. So it was a lot of responsibility to recreate this event and contribute to it. And I was to bring the roses. So because of different POVs and all of the complications of film, and why I'm speaking about film is it kind of distills life's problems in the microsecond, where all of the issues and the challenges in real life are distilled into this microscopic minute that has even more complex issues with camera and money and time and safety and, in this case, sensitivity to the content, which was, primary. And I was told to, find 1,000 synthetic roses. And I'm on, I'm a very avid, active sustainability advocate in the film industry. I'm the chair on our local Directors Guild, yada, yada, yada. I'm just like recognizing how wasteful the industry is and how imperative it is that every industry, but in particular wasteful ones, need to make monumental shifts. So they insisted that we use synthetic roses, import them, FedEx, have a diver recover the roses for resets, and oh yeah, don't worry about the fish, we'll gather them after, et cetera, et cetera. And the intent was that the synthetic roses would be more consistent, that they had some weight to them, that they were just more durable, you didn't have a shelf life, you didn't have to worry about them in the van, they weren't as delicate as organic natural flowers. Anyway, I insisted and I fought and I did tests and threw all kinds of different synthetic and organic roses into various bodies of water. It got to be quite comical, but you know, I insisted that please let me try to convince you that we can do these natural flowers. And ultimately, how do you think, this is a bit of a challenge, and I'm way over 5 minutes. So, okay, so I'll cut to the chase. I added clay to the stems. And as the cast and background were coming through, I was like sitting on at the rocks, and I'm furiously adding clay to these stalks of roses as they're going out, in order that when they were tossed, that the wind wouldn't fly them back into the camera or the cast or whatever. Anyway, it was a really fun, challenging, and rewarding resolution, because it did work. And not only did it work, there was no risk for, the environment was happier, the cost was like 15% of, you know, bringing in the synthetic roses, and they looked pretty bloody great. I mean, they were, you know, better than synthetic, you know. You're gonna, now every time you watch this movie, you're gonna say, oh my God, they look, you know, I can see the clay. So hopefully that's not the case, but I say that every little challenge, every little problem has so many ways of looking at it, and that analyzing it allows you to find more creative solutions. So drill down to, okay, what is it they really want? They just want these beautiful flowers to float and look elegant. How do I do it? So keep coming back to, what is the intent? What is the intent? And I know that there was some reference to that, but just keep drilling down to, maybe they don't really know what the answer is, and just they think they want synthetic flowers, but maybe that's not the solution. So with that, I'll shut up. But sorry, I obviously went a little long.
Good. So we saved that for the panel talk.
Sorry.
Yeah. Cool. No, but interesting story.